Assalamu alaikum. Hi everyone. Warmly welcome to all of you with another important vlog, which is all about electrical safety in line with OSHA USA standards, and also we'll be discussing a lot of technical points related to Saudi Aramco, especially for electrical safety. So, if you are new to our channel, please subscribe, like, and share. This is a kind of a daily learning club, and I hope, like me, you will also be learning a lot, inshallah. Thank you very much. So let's start. We all know this electrical safety. Every day a lot of incidents are happening globally. Uh, just electrocution, and sometimes death is happening because of electric shock. Even the electric shock itself is a very terrible hazard, and also the burns and the falls because of electrocution. So, in that context, we have to focus how these hazards can be avoided, how we can prevent from, or in on the other side, the major part is to achieve and to ensure the zero accident club, no injuries, no electric shocks, no burns, and how we all can achieve. This is the challenge where electricity, we need to understand how it works, if we truly want to ensure safety. And we all know electricity is almost involved in every field of processes, and even in every kind of industries. The reason why we need to learn how electricity works is because this is how we can imagine, what can go wrong and how things could be in control when we talk about electrical safety systems. So that's why it's important to understand how electricity works, like operating when you are operating an electric switch, which means you have to consider analogs to turning on a water. Behind the faucet or the switch, there must be a source of water, electricity, with something to transport it and with pressure to make it flow. In the case of water, the source is a reservoir to or pumping station. The transportation is through pipes, and the force to make it flow in pressure provided by the pumps also. And most importantly, the source, electricity itself, is a source to power generating, like stations. Current travels through electric conductors, we all know, in the form of wires and pressure measured in volts and provided by the generator itself. And since in Aramco, we all know the mostly projects are in the remote areas, where definitely mostly we are using, the generators and some other sorts of energies. So in that context, some of the terminologies are important to understand, like what is current, the movement of electrical charge, what is the resistance, the opposition to current flow, and also the voltage, a measure of electric force. Seems like very simple terminology, but if you ignore them, it would be really hard for you to understand the real mechanism of electrical safety system. And we all know the conductors, like substances such as metals that have little resistance to electricity, even insulators, substances such as wood, rubber, glass, backlight that have high resistance to electricity. So insulation, we all know, is a critical part of electrical safety system. So whenever we are buying any kind of electrical tools or even the wires, we always check and verify the the quality of insulation, and also to make sure it is have a sufficient shelf life or the expiry date. Like in construction, if the building is constructed for 100 years, like the shelf life of a building is 100 years, so what level of quality of the wires and the other electrical tools, equipment, and things you have to install and use, according to the shelf life of the building, to keep it secure. Because if electrical systems we ignore, God forbid, or we compromise with quality, of everything related to electricity. So surely the fire incidents probability will go up. So in that context, it's important to understand the importance of insulation and also the grounding, a conductive connection to the earth, which acts as a protective layer. And not only grounding, even earthing, bonding. When we talk about Saudi Aramco, plenty of other methods are being applied just to keep things safe and to avoid and achieve zero accident club. And yes, electric shock is kind of a terrible hazard, which we all know, and we have to think about how things can move on when we talk about electric shock, like received when current passes through the body. And even the severity of the shock depends, no doubt, on the path of the current through the body and the amount of current flowing through the body. And the length of time is critical, like the body is in the circuit. And remember, low voltage does not mean the low hazard. I repeat again, low voltage does not mean the low hazard. Yes, the dangers of electric shock, like currents greater than 75 milliampere, can cause, the ventricular fibrillation, even fibrillation, or even rapid ineffective heartbeat will cause death in a few minutes unless a defibrillator is used. So 75 milliampere is not much current. A small power drills using, 30 times as much. Now, the point is, how is an electric shock received? So, just in a easy nutshell, when two wires or points have different potential differences, voltages, current will flow if they are connected together. And also in the most household wiring, the black wires are at 110 voltage related to ground. That's why Aramco, they're trying not to use the 110 anymore, and it should be 220 to 240 maximum. The white wires are at zero voltage because they are connected to the ground. And if you come into the contact with an energized live black wire and you are also in contact with a white grounded wire, current will definitely pass through your body and you will receive a shock. And that shock can be deadly, can be, might be you will survive, but mostly cases are happening whenever there is a terrible electric shock. Mostly it's hard to survive. Now, if you are in contact with an energized wire or any energized electrical component and also any grounded object, you will receive a shock. You can receive even a shock when you are not in contact with the ground. If you contact with wires of 240 volt cable and 110 volts cable, you will receive a shock and possibly be electrocuted. So let me be very straightforward. This is the area where we guys have to think 360-degree in every segment. Whatever activities or projects we are involved, we have to think if energy is involved, like electricity is involved, we have to take all the preventive measures and first of all the hazard analysis kind of risk assessment, and accordingly for those activities and processes, we have to make sure the right set of method statement is established and the guys are well involved and it's implemented through the toolbox meeting, through some induction programs. And no doubt we have to make sure the certified, competent, trained individuals are as electrical engineer or as electrical technicians or lotto technicians, we are, applying on that project. And this is just, an example how in Tabuk city in northwest of Saudi Arabia, the accident was happened, even the pictures are more louder than words. So see how things can go out of control if you don't take care. Even one technician and one engineer were affected so badly, So it's not like only one person, even the whole family will be affected. The company would also be in trouble because goodwill is everything. If goodwill is not maintained or not sustainable in that segment, and you're not having a very unique kind of safety management system implemented in all phases of any project with the companies means could be manufacturing projects, means could be mining projects, construction projects, oil and gas projects, could be the oil rig sites, could be even the refineries, even gas oil separation plants, or anywhere you are working where you believe electricity is on your way, you have to know how you're going to handle, tackle, and to ensure and achieve the zero accident club. And it's truly a challenge of every second, every day. It's a teamwork. If I'm visiting any area and I found any electrical hazard, immediately I need to inform to the concerned department head and make sure he also take it serious and plan some corrective preventive action. So, which means don't close your eyes. This is the area where you observe any sort of electrical hazard. Just immediately start talking about it because communication is everything. No, the electrical burns, most commonly the shock related to non-fatal, even though sometimes injuries, but occurs when you touch electrical wiring or equipment that is improperly used or maintained. And mostly, typically, it's happened on the hands, so various injuries that need immediate attention. And one incident sometime create a lot of complications, what went wrong and how we gonna make sure the same incident is not going to happen in future. No doubt, the sometimes the incidents are opportunity to improve and optimize our processes. But the point is, if we talk about zero accident club, we have to be proactive. We all know that there are two approaches in everything, like either to be reactive. Reactive means something will happen, some guys will die, then we're gonna wake up ourselves and we'll work on electrical safety systems, or energy control programs. But to be very honest, you truly need immediate attention. If any sort of electrical hazard is there, don't take it light. And I have noted in several projects, people are sometimes careless, sometimes they love to take shortcuts, sometimes they don't, they simply ignore kind of safety rules, regulations standardized by Aramco or OSHA, or even your client, or even might be your company have a set of safety rules or regulations related to electrical safety. And falls, electric shock can also cause indirect or secondary injuries because workers mostly, in construction projects, even in everywhere, I would say, in all projects, somewhat, somehow, we are bound to work at height. So, in that context, if electrical shock has happened, the falling probability would definitely go high. And falling from even 6 feet or 5 feet or sometimes 20 feet, or imagine if the height is like 100 meters or 500 meters, or maybe now Saudi Arabia is moving towards high-rise buildings, which means the fall hazard is becoming more and more critical. So any electric shock, the fall probability will go up because the guy can't keep the balance, and also it's a sudden shock. So it's really hard to maintain stability on the ladder, might be on the scaffolding or even the man lift, any the work at height, even mobile elevating platforms, maybe mobile scaffolding or some others. So the guys, is really serious. That's why I, selected this topic that we have to discuss deeply and consider it's a complete course. And even if you need, after this detailed training, if you need a certificate, just come back to me. I'll take an exam. If you have watched this video thoroughly and you understood the terminology, then achieve our exam with the 70% marks minimum, and I'm sure we'll issue you the certificate, inshallah. And also, the inadequate wiring hazards are there, which we have to take care because mostly happening because of the wiring, and also overloaded kind of hazards are there, like especially in residential compounds. Normally, people have mobile chargers, they have laptops, and maybe one extension board, and everybody is using the same extension board and creating plenty of issues, and playing with the life for sure. Plenty of incidents have happened in Aramco residential compound. So, in that context, we have to be very careful. That's why the electrical protective devices, especially if we talk about GFCI, ground for circuit interrupters, or the circuit breakers, or including the fuses, it's really important to make sure we use them And these fuses and circuit breakers definitely, whenever there is overcurrent, whenever there is too much current, definitely fuses will be melting and the circuit breakers can trip immediately. Now, the ground for circuit interrupters, this device, even you can see in the picture, this device protects from dangerous shock. GFCI mostly detects a difference in current between the black and white circuit wires, and this could happen when electrical equipment is not working correctly, causing current like leakage as a ground fault. And on the other side, ground fault is detected. The GFCI can shut off electricity flow in as little as 1/40 of a second, protecting you from a dangerous shock. So GFCI critically important, especially in Aramco operations. So wherever you're working at any sort of Aramco project, even in Saudi Electricity or Sadara, Sabic, Neom, Red Sea Global, Qiddiya, even King Salman Park, all sort of giga projects, it's important to make sure we are using this ground for circuit interrupters. There are grounding hazards, especially as per OSHA USA standards. We have to think about the metal parts of electrical wiring systems that we touch, switch plates, maybe ceiling light fixtures, and also have to make sure they must be on a zero voltage relative to the ground, and kind of housings of motors or appliances or tools that are plugged into the improperly grounded circuits may become energized. So if you come into contact with an improperly grounded electrical device, you will be shocked. So shock can be deadly, guys. Your safety is in your hands. You have to, whatever your position, you are an engineer, you are a technician, you are a helper, or even the labor, whatever level you are working in, just make sure you have to avoid. You have to be the safety manager of your own area, your own activities, wherever you are, whatever job you are performing. Just make sure you start understanding how that grounding hazards could be deadly in shape of electrical shocks, because plenty of incidents are still happening globally. And the most important area where we need to focus is the overhead power lines, because mostly people don't realize that overhead power lines are usually not insulated, and power line workers need special training and personal protective equipment to work safely. But remember, you must not use the metal ladders. Instead, use fiberglass ladders. And also, be aware of these power lines when you work with ladders and scaffolding. And there is a very standardized criteria, like if 0 to 50,000 volts are there, so minimum 10 feet. 0 to 300, you can ensure minimum 1 meter distance, and 301 to 50,000 volts, and 1 kV, 1 kilovolts is equal to 1,000 volts. So if voltage are 301 to 50,000, like below 50,000 volts, you can ensure 3 meter distance, or maybe 10 feet in other words. And if it is like 50,000 to 250,000 volts, make it double, make it 20 feet. And after that, per 1 kV, you can ensure 1 feet, so 1 feet distance. So this is how you ensure your safety. That's why all the power stations, or the substations, mostly it is written, stay away from electric panels, stay away from the substations. The reason is electricity can be magnetic and can attract and catch you and can trap you even. So make sure you ensure your safety in that segment. And when you're working in a project like in Dria, in Riyadh, and if any power lines, because the Riyadh basically in Saudi Arabia have a lot of newly, construction of cities within the city, I would say. So power lines is really hard every time to tell Skiko to shut down the power and to turn off everything, and then you're gonna start your working. No, no, no. Sometime local tag or isolation of power, electricity power is not happening. So you are bound to work nearby, the overhead power line. So in that context, your method statement should be good enough that you know how to work near overhead power lines. This is what I was talking about. Okay. So this criteria you need to remember overhead power line distances like 50,000 kV up to 50,000 kV 10 feet or 50,000 to 250,000 make it double, and if it is 250 then minimum 7.5 meter or 25 feet, or remember the criteria what I mentioned, per 1 kV 1000 volts is equal to 1 feet. So increase 1 feet distance per kV, per 1 kV, kilovolts or 1000 volts in other words. Now, these are some of the examples of OSHA electrical requirements, like grounding path. Make sure the path to ground from circuit equipment and closures must be permanent and continuous. Violation shown here is an extension cord with a missing grounding prong. See this. Sometimes we just break it. Maybe the third, the shoe itself not having it, but make sure you use it because it's important. Handheld electrical tools are there. Okay. So any electrical tools you are using, remember they possess a lot of potential dangers because they make continuous good conductor with the contact with the hand. And to protect you from shock, burns, and electrocution tools, you have to make sure there is a 3 wire cord with ground and be plugged into a grounded receptacles, and also be double insulated and be powered by low voltage isolation transformer. See the right side, there is a picture. We always mention high voltage danger. Whenever you see such warning signs or posters, be more careful because the grounding of live parts must guard live parts of electrical equipment operating at 50 volts or more against accidental contact by like approved cabinets, enclosures, or even location of permanent partitions, making them accessible only to the qualified persons. Right there clearly, no unauthorized entry or no entry without a permit, and also elevation of 8.2 feet or more above the floor or working surfaces. We have to make sure the grounding of live parts is there, and mark entrance to the guarded locations with the conspicuous kind of warning signs which I mentioned earlier. You have to make sure the warning signs are there and clearly the system is talking to the individuals, including the visitors, the regulatory bodies, the certification bodies, whoever is coming at your site, including your employees. Now, the grounding of live parts is critically important, as we mentioned, must enclose or guard electrical equipment in locations where it would be exposed by physical damage, and violation shown here is physical damage to conduct by the you can see in the picture. Even the cabinets and the boxes and the fittings, make sure they don't look like the way the picture is shown in the picture. Unused opening in cabinets, or even the photo shows violations of two requirements. It must be like use of flexible cores because it will help you to otherwise more vulnerable than fixed wiring. Do not use if one of the recognized wiring methods can be used instead. Flexible cores can be damaged. How? Aging, mean their shelf life, door or window edges, even the staples of fastenings, even sometime abrasion from the adjacent materials and activities in the area. Improper use of flexible cords can cause shocks, burns, or fire, which need to be taken serious. You know, this is just an example how it should look like. Permissible use of flexible cords. Examples are there. Prohibited use of flexible cords, we can't use like this. This is acceptable. This is not acceptable. I repeat again, it's acceptable. It's not acceptable. Okay. Clues that electrical hazards exist. Stripped circuit breakers or blown fuses. The worm tools, maybe wires, cords, or connections, ejection boxes. GFCI sometimes that shuts off a circuit, and also worn and frayed insulation around wire or connection. Training, training, and training. Very much important. Whatever the technicians are working, whatever the affected employees are involved, for any project where electricity hazard is there, we have to make sure they are fully trained, competent, experienced, and they're the right person for the right job. So de-energizing electrical equipment before inspecting or making repairs, using electrical tools that are in good repair, and using good judgment when working near energized lines. As I mentioned, the overhead power lines or underground power lines, whatsoever the source of electricity is there, make sure you understand what level of appropriate protective equipments are needed. And that's all that can happen through trainings, right? That's why I selected this topic. Why not to, since the training zone is having some global presence in different countries, people are watching it. That's why I'm using English language, because just to reach up the global audience to make it more beneficial. But I will try at the end the summary I'll be explaining in Urdu also. So here is the summary. I'll explain summary in English, then in Urdu, just for better understanding of our audience, especially the countries like Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Nepal. Whoever understands Urdu, they can also get some benefit from this video. But in English, just bear in mind, there is a list of hazards which need to be, which means you have to be fully kind of qualified gentleman who can identify the electrical hazards. And what are those hazards can be at Aramco projects or any projects you are working in or any company. Like I gave a lot of examples of manufacturing companies. So inadequate wiring, anywhere you observe, just start talking about it and take it serious. Expose electric parts, okay, wires with bad insulation, ungrounded electrical systems and tools, even overloaded circuits you observe, or damaged power tools and equipment, using the wrong PPs and tools, overhead power lines, or all hazards that may worsen wet conditions. So, what protective measures we need? Proper grounding would be like earthing or grounding or bonding as per the nature of the project, as per the nature of the activity, or as per the industry safety protocols. Like if you're working in oil and gas, things could be a bit different. And if you're working at construction projects, challenges can be little different. So in that context, according to the nature of your project and activities, you have to decide all protective measures. But these are the some of the important ones, like proper grounding using GFCI. Here I have a question. What is GFCI stand for? Can you just comment in the comment section? What is GFCI stands for? One more question I can raise up here. What is the benefit of GFCI? One more question we can raise it up. Why do we use GFCI? Okay. So I'll be waiting for your answer. And then, using fuses and circuit breakers, guarding live parts. Guarding is important, and even I would suggest no harm to put some sensors or safety devices, proper use of flexible codes and training. सो दोस्तों इस वीडियो में हमने इलेक्ट्रिकल सेफ्टी के बारे में डिस्कस किया है और किसी भी प्रोसेस कोई भी एक्टिविटी या कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट अगर हमने इलेक्ट्रिसिटी एज अ हैजर्ड उसको मतलब सीरियसली लिया है और वी नो कि इट कैन डिस्ट्रॉय एवरीथिंग तो हमें ये सोचना पड़ेगा कि हम सबसे पहले तमाम हैजर्ड्स को आइडेंटिफाई करें और हर हैजर्ड के अगेंस्ट हमारे जो प्रोटेक्टिव मेजर्स हैं, जो कंट्रोल्स हैं, जो इवन दो आपको पता ही होगा कि जो हायरार्की ऑफ कंट्रोल है कि उसमें हम इंजीनियरिंग सॉल्यूशंस भी सोचते हैं, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कंट्रोल्स पे भी काम कर रहे होते हैं और फिर एट नॉट द लीस्ट हम पीपीस के बारे में भी सोच रहे होते हैं। लेकिन जो हैजर्ड्स हैं इलेक्ट्रिसिटी से रेलेवेंट मोस्टली क्या है कि जो इनएडेक्वेट वायरिंग है कि वायरिंग प्रॉपर नहीं है और जो इलेक्ट्रिकल पार्ट्स हैं वो एक्सपोज्ड हैं, जो वायर्स हैं उनकी इंसुलेशन ख़राब है या जो अनग्राउंडेड जिनकी ग्राउंडिंग नहीं की हुई इलेक्ट्रिकल सिस्टम्स एंड टूल्स की, वो हमारे लिए ख़तरा है। जो ओवरलोडेड सर्किट्स हैं मतलब कि एक ही एक्सटेंशन में या लोड चाहिए 220 का और दे रहे हैं आप 350, या लोड चाहिए 110 का और आप दे रहे हैं 220। सो ये सारी चीज़ें हमें समझनी पड़ेंगी। उसके बाद जो ओवरलोडेड सर्किट्स हैं, इसकी कई एग्जांपल मैंने आपको बताई हैं कि अरामको के जो रेजिडेंशियल कंपाउंड्स हैं, जहाँ पे एक रूम में तीन तीन चार चार बंदे रह रहे हैं और हर किसी के पास मोबाइल है, चार्जर है, लैपटॉप है समटाइम, तो वो एक ही एक्सटेंशन कोड में मतलब रश डाला हुआ है। तो हमें देखना पड़ेगा कि जितनी कैपेसिटी है, अलोएबल कैपेसिटी है उस एक्सटेंशन बोर्ड की, हम उसके मुताबिक उसको फॉलो करें। और ऐसा भी नहीं हो सकता कि आप एक जगह पे 10 मशीनें लगाई हैं और एकदम आपने 20 कर दी हैं और आप कहें कि सेम लोड काम करेगा। तो ये आपको, आई बिलीव कि अब आपको थोड़ा ज़रूर जहन में आएगा कि हमने जो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जहाँ जहाँ यूज़ करनी है, वो कौन सी चीज़ें हैं, उनकी क्या कैपेसिटी है और उनको कितना ओवरऑल लोड चाहिए। और वो लोड हमें हर सूरत में बैक एंड से आना चाहिए। अगर कम है तो बढ़ाना चाहिए, अगर ज़्यादा है तो कंट्रोल करना चाहिए। तो ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट एलिमेंट है। इसी तरह फिर हमें एक और हैजर्ड है जिसे हम कहते हैं कि जो डैमेज पावर टूल्स हैं या इक्विपमेंट हैं, वो भी हमारी नज़रों में होनी चाहिए। ये भी बड़ा क्रिटिकल हैजर्ड है। और अगर इन हैजर्ड्स को इग्नोर करेंगे तो इलेक्ट्रिक शॉक और इस तरह के जितने इंसिडेंट्स हैं, आर्क फ्लैश, आर्क ब्लास्ट, फायर और इस तरह के जितने भी हैजर्ड्स हैं, वो सारे जो एक्सीडेंट्स की प्रोबेबिलिटी है उसको ऊपर ले जाएंगे। जो चांसेस हैं, जो एक्सीडेंट होने के चांसेस हैं। और मैं अक्सर कहता हूँ कि हर चीज़ वापस मिल जाती है। एक इंसान दुनिया से चला जाए वो वापस नहीं मिल सकता, वो एक इंसान नहीं जाता, वो अपनी फैमिली का अकेला हीरो होता है और कोई कंटीजेंसी प्लान नहीं है, तो वो बेसिकली पूरी फैमिली ही डेड एंड पे चली जाती है। और आपने अक्सर देखा होगा, आप माशाल्लाह आपने भी अपनी लाइफ में कई ऐसे लोगों को देखा होगा कि सडनली फैटेलिटी में गए हैं और पूरी फैमिली जो है ना वो रोड पे आ गई है। तो ये जो सेफ्टी है ये हमारी अपनी ज़रूरत है और बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि हम इस काबिल ज़रूर हों। जब हम इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियर हैं, जब टेक्नीशियन हैं, जब सेफ्टी इंजीनियर हैं, तो फिर हमें हैजर्ड्स को आइडेंटिफाई करना आना चाहिए। ये हम सिर्फ हैजर्ड्स की बात कर रहे हैं इलेक्ट्रिसिटी से रेलेवेंट। इसके अलावा हैजर्ड्स की बहुत टाइप्स हैं जो आप अक्सर वीडियोस में देख भी रहे होंगे। और आप अगर ट्रेनिंग जोन चैनल को थोड़ा फिल्टर आउट करें तो आपको बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिलेगा इंशाल्लाह। सो ओवरहेड पावर लाइन, ये भी एक हैजर्ड है जिसमें मैंने बताया कि स्पेशल प्रिकॉशंस लेनी पड़ेंगी और सेफ डिस्टेंस भी इम्पोर्टेंट है। इसी तरह इसके अलावा जो भी हैजर्ड है जो वेट कंडीशन में मतलब वर्स एक सिनेरियो क्रिएट कर सकता है, वहाँ पे भी हमें केयरफुल रहना पड़ेगा। तो ये हैजर्ड्स, इसके जो जेनेरिक प्रोटेक्टिव मेजर्स हैं कि हमें क्या करना चाहिए। मेक श्योर कि आप प्रॉपर ग्राउंडिंग कर रहे हो, जीएफसीआई को यूज़ कर रहे हो। यहाँ मैंने एक क्वेश्चन रेज किया है कि जीएफसीआई का मतलब क्या है, मतलब ये स्टैंड फॉर व्हाट है, इसकी एब्रीवेशन क्या है। तो आप भी बता सकते हैं और इसके बेनिफिट्स क्या हैं और ये क्यों ज़रूरी है। उसके बाद जो फ्यूजेस हैं, जो सर्किट ब्रेकर्स हैं, वो कैसे हेल्प आउट करते हैं। फिर इसी तरह गार्डिंग जो लाइव पार्ट्स हैं वो क्यों ज़रूरी है और ये प्रोटेक्टिव मेजर्स हैं। इसी तरह जो फ्लेक्सिबल कोड्स हैं वो यूज़ करना क्यों ज़रूरी है। और ट्रेनिंग, ट्रेनिंग एंड ट्रेनिंग, यही एक फेज है जिसमें आप रेगुलर डेली बेसिस पे इम्प्रूव होते हो, डेवलप होते हो। तो इसमें मैं अक्सर इनकरेज करता हूँ कि अपनी ट्रेनिंग को कभी ना रोकें। और ये जो प्रॉपर यूज़ ऑफ फ्लेक्सिबल कोड्स है, कैसी होनी चाहिए कैसी नहीं होनी चाहिए, इसमें मैं दोबारा आपको ये इन पिक्चर्स की तरफ लेके, इन डायग्राम्स की तरफ लेके जाऊंगा कि ये एक्सेप्टेबल है। क्योंकि फ्लेक्सिबल है, टाइटनेस नहीं है, टूटेगी नहीं। अंदर की जो वायर्स हैं, जो इंटरनल जो एक्सटर्नल इंसुलेशन है, हर लिहाज से मतलब ये सेफ रहेगा। और ये जो है, ये जो टाइट है, जो डिफरेंट जिगजैग है, इज नॉट एक्सेप्टेबल। ओके, चलें दोस्तों, आई होप ये वीडियो आपको पसंद आएगी। अगर आप समझते हैं कि ट्रेनिंग जोन चैनल जो है वो ग्लोबली वैल्यू ऐड कर रहा है और आपको भी कुछ ना कुछ बेनिफिट हो रहा है, तो इसको ज़रूर लाइक करें, शेयर करें। एंड ये आपकी बहुत बड़ी सपोर्ट होगी। उसकी रीज़न है कि ट्रेनिंग जोन चैनल जितना ज़्यादा हम पब्लिश करेंगे, जितना एक दूसरे से सीखेंगे, आप अपना भी एक्सपीरियंस शेयर कर सकते हैं कमेंट्स में। आप मेरे साथ वन टू वन सेशन में आ सकते हैं अगर आप समझते हैं कि किसी एक टॉपिक पे आप चाहते हैं कि आपका नॉलेज कम्प्रिहेंसिव है और आप अपनी वैल्यू ऐड करना चाहते हैं। तो एक 30 मिनट का सेशन रख के आप अपना नॉलेज भी ट्रेनिंग जोन के जरिए कम्युनिटी वेलफेयर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से शेयर कर सकते हैं। ये मेरी हम्बल रिक्वेस्ट है कि सपोर्ट करें, बिकॉज 1 1 = 11। और हमारा जो ट्रेनिंग जोन चैनल है अब मोर देन 60 कंट्रीज में देखा जा रहा है। तो दैट इज़ द रीज़न कि मैं ज़्यादा जो लेक्चर्स हैं अब इंग्लिश में सारे रिकॉर्ड कर रहा हूँ, लेकिन एंड पे जो समरी होगी उस टॉपिक की वो मैं कोशिश करूँगा कि उर्दू में भी ज़रूर शेयर करूँ, ताकि अगर कोई हमारे ऐसे दोस्त हैं जो इंग्लिश नहीं समझते, कम से कम उनको एट द एंड, वीडियो के एंड पे ज़रूर पता चल जाए कि बात क्या हो रही थी और इसके क्या बेनिफिट्स हैं और क्यों ज़रूरी है, और वो किस तरह सेफ्टी चैंपियन के तौर पे वैल्यू ऐड कर सकते हैं जहाँ पे भी वो काम कर रहे हैं। अपना ख्याल रखिएगा और ट्रेनिंग जोन चैनल का भी थैंक यू वेरी मच। टेक केयर योर सेल्फ। बाय बाय।